The 2026 NFL Draft is in the books, which means we know pretty much what we're going to be seeing out of Chicago for the Bears' 2026-27 campaign. Let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? I'm Alex, and this is the Chicago Sports Corner. So grab a seat, sit down, and let's have a conversation about the Chicago Bears draft in 2026. Now, since the draft is now over, we've kind of hit that point in the offseason where, outside of the schedule release in a couple weeks, you're getting pretty much no NFL news until training camp begins in July and the preseason in August. So this is about it until the season starts to really hit us in the dead of summer. Now, for the Chicago Bears, this is a very, very interesting draft because for the first time since 2014, the Bears' first-round pick is not within the top 11. Now they've had a couple good seasons since 2014, which was when they drafted Kyle Fuller out of Virginia Tech at 14. They've had the 2018 season where they went 12-4. Didn't have the first round pick that next year because they traded it to the Raiders for Khalil Mack. And then when they went to the playoffs in 2020, they, I think if I remember correctly, had the 20th overall pick, but then traded up with the Giants to then select Justin Fields at 11. That is the only non-top 10 pick in the first round the Bears have made since 2014. Justin Fields at 11. Until this year. And I gotta say, the first round was pretty ridiculous. I don't think there was anything that happened that was expected to happen outside of Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders at first overall. Outside of that, you could just throw your expectations out the window because nothing went according to plan. And that honestly made for a very entertaining night. The Cardinals put down the phones and ended up picking Jeremiah Love, third overall, the highest running back pick since Saquon Barkley. Pretty ridiculous stuff. Kansas City goes from 9 to 6 as they trade up with the Cleveland Browns to select a guy that I'm pretty sure everyone could have agreed was going to be there at number 9. Everyone thought it was going to be Caleb Downs. And it wasn't. The Chiefs pick Mansour Delane instead out of LSU. Cleveland picks the top tackle in the class. And the New York Giants decide to go tackle at number 10 as opposed to taking Caleb Downs, which allows the Dallas Cowboys to go up one pick in a trade with the Dolphins to pick the safety from Ohio State. Ty Simpson goes 13th overall to the Rams, pretty much cementing that he's going to be Matthew Stafford's replacement when he retires. Sean McVay didn't look super happy about that. Probably wasn't his decision, but I'm pretty sure he'll try and make it work with what he's got. They spent a first-round pick. He's got to try and make it work. The Lions take a tackle, and then the Vikings surprise a lot of people by taking a defensive tackle in Caleb Banks and not some of the other top tackles that were on the board at that point. A very puzzling pick to a lot of people, and I know Vikings fans were wishing they got the guy that the Bears ended up getting at 25.
Yes, Thieneman. We got Thieneman. All right, we got safety help.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Hell
Mike.
yeah. Easy.
Come on down.
Come on down a little
City.
bit.
Love that.
All right, man. Hells yeah.
All right, sweet. I think that's
There you
pretty good value.
So now you got them both locked up. You got both safeties locked up for a good number of years here, right? Kobe on 3 years, he'll be on 3-4, you know?
Yeah.
So, there you go.
All right, safety position set.
Safety.
The Bears get Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, that was projected to go top 15 in some mock drafts. This guy fell to the Bears at 25, and I think that he's going to be a great fit. He'll start week 1 alongside Kobe Bryant. Now, I haven't talked about some of the other offseason moves that the Bears made in free agency. Now, I haven't talked about any of the moves that the Bears made in free agency. I'll get to that a little later because that's been in the news for a little bit and I failed to make any sort of video about it. So I'll dump some of my thoughts about the free agent class for Chicago at the end. But regardless, I think that Dylan Thieneman is actually a really good pick. Every analyst that was under the moon. Like, it's rare to see sports analysts agree on anything nowadays. And I swear, I felt like every single analyst said that this was a home run for Chicago. Dylan Thieneman fell down draft boards. Minnesota fans were like, I'm surprised they didn't take him, right? They were surprised they didn't take Thieneman. The Bears jump on the opportunity and take the safety from Oregon and Purdue. Now, here's the thing. I have also been saying this to friends and family that the Bears should strictly look for defensive line or the edge position in the first round, in the second round, and whatever, right? The Bears had a really bad pass rush. It was their major weakness in 2026. But when you also realize that most of the defensive guys and defensive starters that left the Bears this year, Brisker, Byard, Wright, those three guys in particular, all three of them ended up getting only 1-year deals with other teams in the AFC, funnily enough. Tremaine Edmonds went to New York to go play for the Giants. He's going to get a 3-year contract, if I remember correctly. If it's at least a multi-year deal. But most of the defensive starters that the Bears lost ended up only signing 1-year deals. And with now both their starting safeties out, they signed Kobe Bryant as their major splash in free agency. I'll talk my opinions about him in a minute. And now Dylan Thieneman's going to be starting alongside him. They got Cam Lewis from Buffalo, which it looked like he might be the other starting safety with Bryant. But now with Dylan Thieneman falling into their laps at 25, why not take the best available talent at a position that you desperately need? This was one of the few moves that I would have been more than okay with had they not gone the defensive tackle/edge route. And that looks like a pretty good pick to me. Now, day 2 is what puzzled a lot of people. It wasn't their second round pick, Logan Jones, a center from Iowa. I was a little surprised, mainly because they didn't, again, go defensive line. But thinking about the fact that Drew Dahlman has retired, they brought in his replacement in James Bradbury, but it looks like Logan Jones, it might be the long-term solution, and Bradbury is going to be a quick stopgap as Jones gets better and develops as a player behind Bradbury. Or at least that's what it sounds like the plan's going to be, knowing what moves they have taken. It was the third round that started to get plenty of people on edge a little bit. The Bears had 2 third-round picks this year, and they decided to use both of them on the offensive side of the ball, which I think a lot of us can agree was actually Chicago's stronger side of the football in 2025, which, frankly, is not pretty typical for Bears teams in the past. So it was very interesting to see them go offense, and not just any offensive position like offensive line. You could always get offensive line help, but they decided to go tight end and wide receiver. They go for pass catchers, a place that I think most of us again can agree on is something that isn't a dire need. They take Sam Roush out of Stanford, and with 2 tight ends that are going to both start, in Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, it's a very interesting pick. He has to be the replacement for Durham Smythe. That has to be it, because Ben Johnson loves running with his tight ends, and with no fullback on the team now, you saw Durham Smythe and Cole Kmet. The tight ends were pretty much the fullbacks for the Bears. They were the ones lining up in the backfield in the fullback position in a lot of situations. So it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. Durham Smythe is not going to be on the team anymore. Sam Roush will take his spot. The other third-round pick that the Bears decide to go with is Xavier Thomas from LSU, a wide receiver. And this sent a lot of people into a bit of a frenzy because the Bears have plenty of pass catchers. They did lose DJ Moore. I'll touch on that in a minute. Hold on. But now it's Luther Burden and Rome Odunze's team. Colston Loveland's your top tight end pass catcher. He might be your best overall receiver right now. And then you have the undrafted free agent Jade Walker, who surprised a lot of people at the end of last season, filling in when both Odunze and Burden were hurt against Green Bay and catching that game-tying touchdown. So a lot of people were expecting him to be the third receiver. They just picked up Khalif Raymond as a slot guy that can also return some punts and kickoffs. Khalif Raymond played with Ben Johnson to Detroit, and I think that that's a great move as well. I don't think that there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, we need a receiver. But they decided to take Xavier Thomas instead. And from what it sounds like, Thomas is a very, very fast guy. He ran a sub 4.3 40. That is ridiculous. Ooh, this reminds me of something that I forgot to mention about Dylan Thieneman. Dylan Thieneman ran a faster 40-yard dash at the Combine than Justin Jefferson. I don't know, the consensus best receiver in the National Football League. And a guy that plays in your own division. So that should hopefully help when we need a safety to close on a pass that is thrown Justin Jefferson's way. Force him to make a difficult catch, maybe bat it down, force some contact, maybe even pick it off. But Dylan Thieneman, he's got the speed, he's young, he's fast, he's very, very skilled with the ball, performs under pressure as he was the one who ended the whiteout game in Pennsylvania when Oregon played there this past season in overtime. I think that he's going to be a great pickup. Anyways, back to Xavier Thomas. It sounds like he's going to be another shifty guy that they can put in the slot and probably replace Khalif Raymond when he ends up leaving Chicago. If it's after this year or next year, we'll see. But it sounds like Xavier Thomas is going to come in and be a kick return specialist, kind of have it be Raymond and Thomas returning kicks as opposed to what it was last year with Devin Duvernay and Josh Blackwell. Xavier Thomas is all about speed. That's his biggest strength. I know of another guy that the Bears selected in the 3rd round that was all about speed from Tennessee. The cursed school when it comes to wide receivers. His name was Velus Jones. I don't think he panned out too well, and I don't think he's not playing wide receiver anymore. Though it pains me to say that he has a Super Bowl ring because he was with the Seahawks last year. Oh, that's just wonderful. See, it doesn't seem like Xavier Thomas is going to have the same receiving problems that Velus Jones had, but only time will tell. You just hope he doesn't end up like Velus Jones again, who has some of the worst lowlights I've ever seen from a Bears player. Like, oh my God! On day 3, the Bears finally focused on defense. They took a corner out of Texas named Malik Muhammad in the 4th round. In the 5th round, they took Keyshawn Elliott from Arizona State, a linebacker. And in the 6th round, with their final pick of the 2026 draft, the Bears finally went with the defensive line. Jordan Vandenberg from Georgia Tech was their pick in the 6th round. Now, I've seen plenty of fans lose their minds because the Bears didn't address the defensive line and decided to go with a tight end receiver in round 3 as opposed to picking them later, because a lot of these people thought that those two guys probably would have been there later. I don't know. I'm not going to claim that I'm some draft guru. The draft is something that I learn about a lot of these players the night of, unless I watched them in college and kind of am familiar with them from that. But other than that, I'm learning about most of these players as soon as they're getting called up. And I really only learned about Thieneman as he started to fall down and oh, there's this safety from Oregon that's starting to fall down. Do the Bears try and get him at 25 as opposed to someone that's on the defensive line? What do you know, they did, and apparently it has been a home run according to a lot of people. I am not going to panic that the Bears may be reached for a tight end or a receiver in round number 3. I'm not going to sit here and say that Ben Johnson doesn't know what he's doing, or actually no one's been saying Ben Johnson doesn't know what he's doing. A lot of criticism is only directed towards Ryan Poles. It's very clear by this draft that people don't like Ryan Poles and really like Ben Johnson. Every good pick and every good move is the result of Ben Johnson, and every bad move is the result of Ryan Poles. There is someone to praise and someone to blame, and it's super predictable on who it's going to. And I'm here to tell you, stop. It's not that simple. Guys, both of them are collaborating on every decision. And it's not just them. Because remember, Antoine Randall, after the Bears picked Luther Burden in the 2nd round, he was over the moon. He probably had a little bit of word to say about it before they picked him. Just like we'll probably see, maybe it was Dennis Allen who probably was like, I like Thieneman. I want him on my defense. If he's there at 25, take him. I've also got a better idea. Let's not freak out about the draft. These guys are third-round picks. Dude, you realize that there's some solid depth. Maybe you find a hidden gem in the third round. The Bears have done that before. David Montgomery was a third-round pick. They found a nice talent in the third round, but they've also taken guys like Velus Jones in the third round that have completely flopped. We don't know how any of these guys are going to perform in the National Football League. Let's pump the brakes and let's not panic just yet. It's April. And see, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't trust the coaching staff as much as I do. This coaching staff has proven to me over the last calendar year that they know what they're doing, because they took a 5-12 Chicago Bears team and took them to 11-6 and champions of the NFC North, while also beating those damn cheeseheads in the playoffs. So I don't want to hear anyone panicking about this coach doesn't know what he's doing in the draft. This general manager is a bum. They found a way to have a very successful season when no one expected them to have a good season. Now, that doesn't mean you can't question or criticize them there. I'm not going to try and sit around and say that you can't do that. I just don't think we need to have a big hoopla about it yet. It's April. I'm not super sure why they picked a tight end and a wide receiver in the third round as opposed to focusing on the position groups that they really need help at. But I'm going to trust that our head coach knows what he's doing, because he took a team from last in the division to first. If this was 2 years ago in the draft class where the Bears selected Caleb Williams, I wouldn't trust Matt Eberflus at all to make a good decision, because he did not have a track record of making good draft selections. Now, the one constant is Ryan Poles, and he definitely gets much more of the criticism than Ben Johnson does. But here's the thing, Ryan Poles, just like any general manager in the National Football League, I personally believe should get 2 head coaches before they're fired. Because if they get one bad head coach and they get fired, is it really their fault that their coach stinks? If the general manager can't get it done with a second head coach who, in this case, seems to be much better, then we have a problem. But it looks like Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are tied at the hip right now, and Bears fans are going to have to get over the fact that Ryan Poles was the general manager during Matt Eberflus's tenure. And if you really feel a certain way about those years, focus all your hate to the only Bears head coach who has ever been fired mid-season, who is now out of the league because he was that terrible as a defensive coordinator in Dallas last year. Now, the Bears did add to their roster with some undrafted free agents. They took Caden Barnett from Wyoming, a defensive tackle, and it looks like he was a very good player. He was second team All-Mountain West. I think that he could have a fighting chance to make the roster. So the Bears pick up a defensive tackle from Wyoming. They pick up another defensive tackle from Wake Forest. They signed a couple other positions. They picked up a kicker from San Diego State. They took a long snapper from Georgia. But the big interesting thing to me, the Bears signed Miller Moss. Now, if you don't know who Miller Moss is, he's the guy that backed up Caleb Williams at USC in 2023. And when Caleb Williams didn't play in the bowl game that USC played in that season, Miller Moss started, and if I remember correctly, threw 6 touchdowns in a win over Louisville. Now, Miller Moss did not have a spectacular 2024 season. I don't even think he finished it for USC. It was very clear that he was not a Heisman-winning quarterback like Caleb Williams was. But I actually don't hate the move, because now there's a little bit of pressure put on Tyson Bagent, because the Bears re-signed Case Keenum to a short deal to bring him back as a veteran option. I expect him to make the roster. I think it really comes down to Miller Moss versus Tyson Bagent, and if they want to ship off Tyson Bagent for some picks next year, Miller Moss would be the backup. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll keep Tyson Bagent and force him to fight for the backup position with Miller Moss, but my point stands. So anyways, that's what happened in the draft, and those are the rookies that are going to come to Chicago and try and fight for a spot on the 53-man roster. The other big part of the offseason is free agency, and that happened a month ago, so I'm getting to this really late, but I feel like if I'm here, I'm already here, so let's dump a couple thoughts about the free agent class. I want to start this off with a little bit of tribute to DJ Moore, a guy that the Bears grabbed in the haul when they traded down from the number 1 overall pick in 2022, which when we think about that 2022 season, that was hard to get through. Justin Fields was doing everything in his power to win, but just could not win a football game because the team just stunk in the fourth quarter. And they kept losing and losing and losing, and then Davis Mills gives us the Hail Mary to Jordan Akins. The Bears trade down, and Caleb Williams and DJ Moore are the reason that they not only won the NFC North, but won a playoff game this year. So I want to thank DJ Moore for what he was able to do here in 3 seasons in Chicago. It feels like he has been here for longer, but I think he really found a home in Chicago. Now, I'm obviously really sad that DJ Moore is not going to be on this Bears team next year. I think he really found a home here, and he really enjoyed playing in Chicago. And I'm not exactly sure the reason why he got traded. It most likely is to save cap space because he was taking a massive cap hit, especially compared to his position, or the rest of the players in his position on the team. And I think that the Bears did a great job when it came to finding him a spot that he wanted to go to. DJ Moore's going to have a great time playing in Buffalo. Great fan base out there. They're going to get a new stadium. He gets to play with Josh Allen. And he gets to play under Joe Brady, the guy that he was playing with in Carolina. He was the offensive coordinator when DJ Moore broke out with the Panthers. Now he's the head coach in Buffalo. I think that DJ Moore's going to have a great season with the Bills. And hopefully he becomes the wide receiver 1 that the team needs. And so the Bears now transition. Their top 2 receivers are Rome Odunze and Luther Burden. Their top tight end is Colston Loveland. 3 pass catchers that are really young and I think can make a lot of noise in this league. They have yet to hit their prime. I'm really excited to see what those 3 guys can do. And they have Ja'Day Walker as the wide receiver 3 right now as well. I mentioned him a little earlier, but the big splash that Bears made after they did not re-sign Brisker and Byard was go out and chase one of the top safeties, if not the top safety in the free agent class, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant started his career in Seattle playing cornerback, and as he shifted to play safety over the last 2 years, he has taken his game to another level, and he's grown into one of the better safeties in the National Football League. He's got 7 interceptions over 2 seasons. He was on a Super Bowl championship-winning defense in the dark side. I think he's going to be a great lockdown safety for Chicago in 2026. I think this is a great signing. It's a 3-year contract worth $40 million, and he's not the only guy who got a 3-year deal on the defensive side of the ball. The Bears decide to take a gamble on Devin Bush, a guy who finally had his breakout season. A former first-round pick, went to the Steelers, just could not regain his form after he suffered an injury in his rookie season. He's been bouncing around for a little bit. He even played in Seattle for a season. He's been playing in Cleveland recently, and he had a great season. 3 interceptions, 2 of which he returned for touchdowns last season. And he was a force to be reckoned with on that really stout Cleveland defense. I know the Browns were not a good football team, but their defense was really good. And Devin Bush was a big reason why. So it looks like Devin Bush is going to start alongside TJ Edwards week 1. That looks like it's going to be the starting duo. But the Bears also re-signed DeMarco Jackson, which I think is a great idea. He was very integral in this defense's success last season when they struggled with injuries. And by God, did they struggle with injuries. TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds were the starting duo, but they barely ever saw the field together. It was Noah Sewell, the week 1 starter. DeMarco Jackson filled in. He really made his mark in week 12 against the Steelers when Edwards, Edmonds, and Sewell were all 3 of them were all down, which left DeMarco Jackson, Amen Ogbamamiga, and Ruben Hippolyte to have to do the heavy lifting. And DeMarco Jackson wore the green dot. He was the quarterback for the defense, and he had 15 tackles. He was great, and he was great in a pinch when Edmonds was on the IR for most of December. TJ Edwards was able to come back but he was the starting second linebacker for the rest of the year when one of the guys went down. And so Jackson will be a great third linebacker for the Chicago Bears, but the fourth option is a guy that Bears fans are familiar with, as he was with the team as the third linebacker for a couple of years. Jack Sanborn is back from a short stint in Dallas, as Matt Eberflus wanted him in that Dallas defense. I don't know why he accepted to go play with Matt Eberflus again, but he's back in Chicago. He's going to get to play under Dennis Allen. He'll probably be the fourth linebacker for the Bears, but it's good to see a familiar face back. He's played with some of these guys. It's not going to take nearly as long for him to reintegrate himself with the system. And the big defensive line signing was Neville Gallimore, another guy that the Bears signed from Indianapolis. They signed Dio Odengbo from Indianapolis last year. Odengbo did not pan out last year, but then again, he was hurt for the majority of the season. A motivated Dio Odengbo should hopefully help this defensive line get to the freaking quarterback. But Gallimore is more of an interior guy. It looks like he's going to be the replacement for Andrew Billings more than anyone else. So hopefully he can do a good job stopping the run. The Bears then re-signed Braxton Jones on the offensive line to come back for another season, and they picked up Jedrick Wills, a former first-round pick taken by the Cleveland Browns. Look, Ozzie Trapillo is probably going to be hurt, and he's probably not going to play for almost all of 2026 because of the knee injury he took in the wild card game. Because it happened then, it's probably going to take a while for him to heal up. I don't think he's going to be ready for the early season. He might not even play at all next season. And so I feel like there's probably going to be a little bit of a weakness on the left side of the offensive line. And Joe Thuney, the inaugural Protector of the Year, is going to be huge in helping limit the damage there. But we'll see if he ends up playing left tackle or stays at left guard. That, I think, is the most interesting piece here. Will he play next to his former North Carolina State teammate in James Bradbury, or control the outside? Well, and that's about it. The Bears re-signed a couple other guys like Daniel Hardy and signed a couple other guys in free agency, but that's all I really wanted to go over in this portion of the video, which means we've reached the end of the video. And I gotta tell you, I'm really excited to see what the 2026 Chicago Bears can bring to us, because there are expectations now. The honeymoon period is over. The initial, man, you guys brought love back to the city for the team, that's over. There are expectations now. You just won the division, in a division where every team had a winning record. After finishing last the previous year, you had a first-year head coach win his first playoff game against your biggest rival. You have a second-year first overall quarterback who is that close to being the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears history. You won 11-6. If they go 12-5, it's an improvement. Whatever, right? If they go 11-6 again, I don't think that there's really... I don't think strictly wins and losses is going to tell me how well and how good or bad the team is, because they have another tough schedule this year. Before the season begins, 11 of their 16 games, 17, pardon me, are against teams with winning records. And that's with them playing the NFC South next year. They got 6 games against teams with winning records last year in their own division. They got to play Buffalo on the road. They got to welcome the Patriots. They got a first-place schedule. They play at Seattle. Most likely is going to be the season opener. You get Jacksonville and Philadelphia at home. It's going to be a tough schedule. Can this team live up to the expectations? Maybe win the division again. Stuff can happen. They're not the favorites to win the division. I think the last time I checked, they were 3rd, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. I would be like, yeah, if you picked them to finish 2nd, that checks out. You know, it's probably going to be a tougher division next year, with Detroit kind of finding their footing at the end of the year after losing Ben and Aaron Glenn. Regardless, the expectation is set. Playoffs has to be what this team can produce. And you've got a very young team. You have put in some money to grab some nice big free agents, because you can have that with the cap space you have. You want to try and make these next couple of years with Caleb Williams count before you have to sign him to probably $60 million a year with just how the quarterback market continues to just go up, 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 and up. And that's not even getting to when Rome Odunze's rookie contract's up, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, all those guys have their rookie contracts come up. You want to make sure you make the most out of these next 2 to 3 seasons when you have your core established and they're all on rookie contracts. This is an exciting year for Chicago. There is some real optimism for the Bears to not only get to the playoffs, but win another playoff game and maybe claim the NFC. Now, the final piece of information that we lack before we prepare for the 2026 season is the schedule. The NFL schedule release is going to happen in the next couple weeks. They haven't announced a date yet, which is weird. They usually do that during the draft. I don't know what you're doing, Goodell. But it's going to be the last thing that we need to know before we can make an educated guess on how the Bears are actually going to do in 2026. Going to Seattle, week 1, when the banner is raised for the Seahawks, is going to be a lot different than if they play them week 7 on, the late window, right? Whatever. It's going to be a lot different if they play the Packers week 1 on Sunday Night Football than if they play them on Monday night or Sunday afternoon in week 9. It's going to be a lot different. That's going to be the last important piece before we can start thinking about how this team is going to do in 2026. And so with that, this video comes to a close. Thank you for stopping by the Chicago Sports Corner. I hope you enjoyed your time. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content from me. And if you really like the video and want to show your support. Keep the conversation going down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the 2026 draft class and what you think about some of the offseason moves the Bears made. Are they poised to repeat as NFC North champions and maybe make a deep run in the NFC playoffs, maybe even win the conference? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And without further ado, I will see you all in the next one. Take care.